What factors usually trigger an overhaul? It's going to come down to your bearings. Your bearings are going to be the number one thing in most scenarios that result in an overhaul. Now, this is if there is a failure. Your bearings are typically the first thing to fail, whether it be your thrust bearings, whether it be your sleeves or your journals. You're going to see that in your oil analysis, and even your oil filter. You're going to start having a lot of flaking. That machine is going to have a lot of extra vibration and just operational noise that wasn't there previously. All of those things are going to point to we're starting to have a bearing issue, and we want to resolve this before we have an impeller issue. That's a whole nother level of issues. There are other things though. So if we're having trouble getting lift and moving the refrigerant, and the machine is even having trouble to function, we could be having an impeller issue. There could be something like we may have had a touchdown and we messed up some of our vanes, or we could have slugged back or had droplets come back and start shredding the internal of the impeller, right? So we ran our liquid levels too high, or something happened on the load side that allowed us to mess up the impeller, allowing liquid refrigerant to come back in. We could have an eye seal issue, a labyrinth seal, where we're bypassing the high side directly into the low side. All of those conditions where the compressor, while technically should be loading up, say we're on a variable speed, but we're at our 60 hertz, or all of those factors are true. IGVs are open, impellers open, all these are true, but yet we still just somehow the compressor ain't compressing. Those would be conditions that would make you say, okay, well, something has happened. Or in the event of the impellers getting tore up, you'll have issue maintaining lift. That you'll get into these really low lift conditions where under normal circumstances you'd run just fine, but the compressor just can't do it. It can't. As soon as it begins to build lift at all, it starts to having surge issues. Right, in the most extreme cases, that a tore up impeller, whether it be from touchdown, whether it be from liquid, that's going to be more symptoms of that. So all of those would trigger a overhaul from a failure perspective. There's a lot of facilities that do this on a routine. So 60 to 80,000 hours is the industry standard for when you should do an overhaul. To be honest, there's a lot of chillers that, if they're treated correctly and they're in a proper environment, they're commissioned well, they will run for 100,000 plus hours and never need an overhaul. They're fine. In most of the cases that I see that 60 to 80,000 hour recommendation is stuck to the most is in critical plants. Okay, so we're talking data center environments. We're talking critical manufacturing processes for large facilities, stuff like that. I'll give an example. The Samsung semiconductor plant in Austin, Texas. They've got, I think it's 20 or 20 something CVHs in there. And they're all, I think, 2,000 tons each. And they run them in different seasons. And those chillers are on a routine cycle. That's a semiconductor plant, and their necessity to control a very pinpointed leaving water output is extremely, like the scales. Like, if you haven't been in those environments, the scales at which we have to flow or keep a precise control of our leaving water conditions gets wild. Okay, but it depends on the manufacturing process itself and how much tolerance there is before you start messing up their product, because you get too far outside of those ranges. Now their product is being affected, which is hurting their bottom line in the end. So having chillers down is not an option. So in that environment, they go through a routine overhaul cycle, whether the chiller has symptom signs or anything or not. They go in on a schedule and they just do a continuous overhaul cycle of those centrifugals to prevent downtime as much as possible. So that's usually where I see the time frame used the most, is in those critical facilities circumstances where they can't afford that. The cost of downtime is way more than a simple overhaul that we already know is probably going to be fine, but we're going to do it anyway to make sure. Those are the two directions you will see you'll have to go into on when should an overhaul be performed. If you're not already in Chiller Academy, I'd really encourage you to go check it out. Just think about it, right? This is what I do full time. I've committed. I've stepped out of the field, committed my career to this going forward. This is what I've always wanted to do, and to be able to educate, help others, and grow, and help this industry take steps forward. So chilleracademy.com. Like I'd love to be able to work with you over there. We've got a community page. All the lessons have a comment section. That's what I spend a lot of my day doing. If I'm not working on the lesson material itself, then I am in the comments and I'm trying to respond to those as fast as I can, in addition to helping you through email and otherwise. So love to be able to work with you. For all of those that are in the academy, y'all are doing some great work out there. Keep it up. I really appreciate the support and the feedback that you've given.